Yeah.
I just spent freaking 3 hours yesterday digging up stuff from all of April.
All of April.
And now they want like March.
I just passed some online training. For those who know, you know. If you ask me what are my weaknesses in life, I would think it's email and training online. That would probably be near the top of the list.
Well, look, you got it done the first one. I had to do that thing. I had to do it 5 times.
Did you? I think I got it done. I got an email that says I completed it.
There you go. All right.
All right. I can see myself in the chat. What do you want to talk about, chat? Put it in there.
Raider Nation has come to sound off and react for over 20 years.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Billy Cadillac Performance Studio. Here's everyone got home to sound off for over 25 years. And now, here's JT the Brick.
Out of the gate, JT with Bobby, as we are in the studio and we are live on a whole bunch of platforms, including Raider Nation Radio, 9:20 a.m. in Vegas. We're on the Raiders mobile app. If you're following me on YouTube, I can show you. If you click on the Raiders mobile app, there's a radio icon in the upper right corner. You can get it there or on the YouTube channel, JT the Brick on YouTube, JT the Brick YT. So there's a lot of ways to listen in case something crashes and something goes down. Something goes on in India and Pakistan or somewhere in the world, and you go, where do I get the show? Go get it on the YouTube channel and LV Sports Network. As we open it up, I had to come in early today and complete some online training. For those who know, oh boy, Bobby. Bobby and I aren't good at online training, man. I don't even know what those emails look like. And then when I do, and they say, hey, man, you're late to do this online training, get in the building. Woo, man. I don't know how you young people, and we're all young. I mean, I go out, I do things this weekend that some people won't do in 10 years. But my point is, man, the younger generation, man, clicking on and online training, man, used to be Bobby and I would just turn on the microphones and put an on-off button on. Now the training, which helps us, and we're positive with it. It helps us. That's why you can't see Bobby on the YouTube channel, because of the remarks he's making now. So what do we want to do today? I got Vinny Bonsignor, the great Raider insider, a teammate here. He's going to join us in about 10 minutes. Levi Edwards did a all day with Ashton Jeanty. He's going to join us. And then I'm open most of the show. I'd like the phones to work today. I just look for 2 hours a day to talk to some friends. You don't have to be Raider fans. You can be anti-Raider fans, but you're probably not here. We want to get some Golden Knight fans. Oh boy, am I nervous. So I'm going to lead with that momentarily. And then the NBA playoffs have been really good. Do you know the first time in our life, no matter if you were born this week or you're 100 years old, the first time in our life, last night something happened that never happened in sports. All 4 of the NBA conference semifinals, the road team won. Now, Cleveland's lost 2 at home, but all the road teams won. Golden State Warriors, they won. The Denver Nuggets, right? So we're talking about the semifinal, they won in Oklahoma City, and my Knicks ended up winning in Boston. That has never happened in our lives. How is that possible? That's never happened. And then you threw on 2 teams that lost at home in the NHL playoffs last night. 2, including our team, the Vegas Golden Knights. So that has never happened. It was historic. I was on the air last night. The only reason I knew that is because on the NBA on TNT, Ernie Johnson put up the graphic and said, this is the first time this has ever happened, ever. I said, how is that possible? They've been playing the Western Conference and Eastern Conference semifinals our whole life. And it's the first time all the home teams lost. And then I added a little caveat, and I said, well, there were 2 hockey games tonight, and the home teams lost. That never happened before. I think that's cool. I'm not happy the Golden Knights lost. I'm actually furious. But what happens is when we live through history, when we see something that's never happened before, that's kind of unique. I'm in the business of sports, and I don't want to see that every day if it affects my team negatively. But wow, really interesting night last night. So last night was one of the most historic nights ever in sports, and it'll never happen again because it never happened before. Never happen again. All 4 NBA teams will not lose at home to start off a series. I can promise you that. Oh, and how about this one? All of the underdog teams won against the spread, obviously, and on the money line. So if you bet all those road teams to win on the money line, you probably got a penthouse suite on the strip with more money than you can count. So for you gamblers out there, that was pretty special too. I want to tell you something about my Vegas Golden Knights. They're my team. You better believe they're my team. I'm going Thursday night. I'm not a journalist. I'm a radio host. They're my team. And I'm behind my team because I love Las Vegas and I live here. Holy crap, did we get boat raced.
Oh, yeah.
Stone comes out and scores 2 goals. We're up 2-0, and the captain, El Capitan, scores 2 goals, and we are flying. And then we get slaughtered and give up 4 unanswered goals and lose 4-2. Are you kidding me? That's how you could lose a series, is by letting some drama sneak in at that level that is so bizarre and so crazy. So give me the second Stone goal, as Stone was able to come in and really carry the team in the first period. This is what a captain does in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Harry speeds ahead, 2-on-2, Eichel on the right to the third man Stone. Stone down the slot, scores! 2 goals in the first period of game 1 for Mark Stone. 2-0 Golden Knights, 11 minutes to play in the first.
Dan Duva on all these calls. So when your captain scores 2 goals to start off a series at home, he's your captain. Where in God's name is everybody else? Where are the other players? Carlson, Eichel, Theodore, Barbashev. Where the hell's everybody else? You get the captain. The guy's always banged up every year. He comes through. And then the Draisaitl goal, which was wild because Hill went up to make a save over his head. Then the puck goes behind him, and Draisaitl, you want to talk about luck? There's some skill here. Draisaitl threw it off the goalie from behind.
Point shot, Bouchard deflected. Hill got a piece of his glove, and it's banked in. Wild scramble like a ping pong ball, and the Oilers have tied it 2-2 a minute into the third period. Leon Draisaitl leads the celebration live for Edmonton.
That was pretty much it. They tied it up 2-2. All the energy in the building. My phone, which I'm showing here on YouTube, JT the Brick YT, was blowing up. I had friends in the building saying there's open seats. Yeah. That seats weren't sale. I'm like, what? I had friends telling me that the Fortress was quiet and fans weren't at their best. I said, oh man, I got to be careful on that. We're a partner with the team. You know, we're a partner with the Raiders and the Golden Knights and UNLV. We have rules at this place that most radio hosts don't. Most guys now don't have radio shows. They have what a column, a pay column or something. We got a radio show. We got to be careful with what I say. They got slaughtered. They looked like they were skating in mud. They hit the wall physically. They couldn't skate with Edmonton. Edmonton was at the next level. Final call as Edmonton beats Golden Knight and steals home ice advantage.
5 seconds to go. Knights recover the puck, but they'll run out of time. The Oilers take game 1 and come from behind fashion. 4 unanswered goals to down the Knights 4-2.
All right, so that's Golden Knights radio. That loss is a disaster. If they lost 4-0 and had nothing, okay. All right, they had a bad game. They're up 2-0, and they got smoked. And the goalie got smoked in the third period. Not good sign going into game 2. So let it be heard. I am coming to the rescue. I am in the building on Thursday night. I am coming in, and I am ready to get a win. And if Vegas wins this game and ties it at 1, I think they'll win the series. I really do, because they're the better team. They're the deeper team. I think they'll win the series. If they lose and go down 0-2 at home, it's over. It's over. They're not winning 4 out of 5 against Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. Are you nuts? You think they're going to win 4 out of 5 against those guys? So game 2 is the definition of a must-win. If you're a Golden Knight fan, you should be on the radio like they do in Detroit, Toronto, Boston, New York. And I don't beg people. No one has to call. I can do 15 years without a call. But we got to wake this city up. And I'm the guy to wake this city up. I'm the guy. Sorry, everybody else, guys and girls. I'm the guy that could wake us up. We've got to get this city to pretend to be a hockey town. When you go down 0-1 in Detroit, in Denver, in New York, in Boston, the fans rally for the team. They don't leave the arena and they don't go online and mock the team and rip the team. Hockey fans rally behind their team when they lose. Let's see what happens today. 702-365-9200. We're able to get the great Vinny Bonsignore early into the show today, and we greatly appreciate that. He's our co-host in the morning, Vegas Nation, and all the great work he does at the Review Journal. Vinny, I want to begin by talking about the hiring of assistant GMs and scouts and your reporting on what's going on inside the building with Mark Davis, Tom Brady, Pete Carroll, Spytech, as they're bringing in more executives who seem to have really good track records.
Yeah, they do. And, this is part of the remake of really John Spytek's front office now. Once you get through the draft, and a lot of times contracts run out in May, that's typically the time that personnel contracts run out. So I'm sure a lot of this was in the works, for a few months now, but some of the people that they've brought in obviously had to finish up their duties with their previous teams, getting through the draft specifically, and then they became truly available to the Raiders to bring them here. And when you look at the organizations that we're talking about, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Denver Broncos, teams that have had a lot of success over the years and did very well in drafting. And I think the John Spytek factor, and when you look at this draft that the Raiders just put together, his fingerprints and Pete Carroll's fingerprints are all over it. And now you bring in people that John Spytek have already worked with in the past, whether it was in Philadelphia or if it was with the Denver Broncos, to add to what they've already built here with the Raiders. It's only a positive and it's only a good thing. And I think they're definitely strengthening themselves and have over these last few weeks now with these new additions.
To get a Howie Roseman lieutenant, and for John Spytek, we're hearing more about the connections to Denver, maybe more so than Tampa Bay. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at John Spytek's resume, the Denver Broncos, the Philadelphia Eagles really jumped to the forefront. There were some years elsewhere, and then obviously concluding in Tampa Bay, where he was a big part of what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did, and ultimately building a Super Bowl champion football team and a team that's perennially in the playoffs, even without Tom Brady, on that roster. That's what really strikes me is where is the organizations that he came from and that he's bringing people from to the Raiders now, and the long track record that's in place of building rosters, and specifically through the draft. That's the lifeblood of any good football operation, is drafting and developing. And nobody does it better, really, than the Philadelphia Eagles and recently the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're two of the best at it. You got to throw obviously the Rams in there and the San Francisco 49ers in there. And that's why you're seeing guys from the Rams becoming general managers and that general manager in Jacksonville bringing in some people from the Rams to help him there in Jacksonville. That's where you go. That if you want to model your franchise after the best that are doing it, you go and get people from those organizations. And that's exactly what the Raiders did in bringing John Spytek in from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and what he's continued to do in bringing in some of his lieutenants.
Vinny Bonsignore is our guest. Really loved your column. 3 positions the Raiders added, competition to an NFL draft. Walk us through that, and for our audience that didn't read it, about this competition, Pete, the obvious positions you think that added competition is going to happen, and probably it was necessary.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, obviously this is different from rooms that they just flat out improved it, because the room that they improved most was the running back room with Ashton Jeanty. But above and beyond that, what John Spytek and Pete Carroll have talked a lot about is adding competition and creating competition. And you do that by, again, going into the draft and bringing in quality players, and also free agency as well. And I really think this 11-player class that the Raiders put together in the draft and once they announced their undrafted free agents, achieved that goal. And the positions that really jumped out to me through free agency in the draft were offensive guard. Caleb Rogers, who they brought in from Texas Tech, they drafted out of Texas Tech, and bringing in an Alex Kappa, a veteran that John Spytek is very well aware of. He was part of the organization in Tampa that drafted him. And all of a sudden you start talking about whether it's the starters, and you're going to be deciding among Alex Kappa, Caleb Rogers, Dylan Parham, and Jordan Meredith for the two starting positions, but then also the depth that whoever doesn't win those jobs now creates behind them. And I look to wide receiver, and it's not so much who's going to make the team necessarily, for the Raiders by adding 3 wide receivers through the draft, but really who's going to emerge as guys that are going to contribute early on and be reliable targets for Geno Smith. When you're talking about Dante Thornton and Jack Besh and Tommy Millott, who I think is going to carve out a role for himself. You add that to Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker, and really the ultimate weapon in Brock Bowers. All of a sudden, you start looking at how deep that wide receiver room potentially can be, and who's going to be out on the field being tapped into by Chip Kelly. It looks a lot better today than it did 3 months ago. That's for darn sure. And then also the defensive line, with Tonka Hemingway and Peegs, JJ Peegs, who they brought in through the draft, adding to what they've already had in place, who they brought in free agency. And all of a sudden that defensive tackle, that interior defensive tackle room looks a lot deeper than it did a couple of months ago. And what's the competition going to be like to create roles for yourself? And when you look at John Spytek teams and you look at Pete Carroll teams, in the past, what they have done is come at waves in you in the defensive line, defensive end, and the interior. And it sure looks like the Raiders added to that interior defensive lineman through the draft and free agency.
Vinny Bonsignor, as we wrap it up, Besh and Thornton, I'm really excited about, because I thought Thornton could have went higher in the 3rd round. And from talking to people in Knoxville about his ability, how much more does he have to work to be a better route runner instead of a deep threat?
Yeah, and he played in an offense at Tennessee that didn't really ask him to do a whole lot in terms of the route running. You have to go back to his days at Oregon. There was a little bit more evidence of that, so he can do it. There's no question that he could do it. And I remind some of my listeners and followers, this was a 3.9 GPA high school class president back in his high school in Maryland. This guy gets it and understands it. He's very smart. So I don't feel like that's going to be any sort of an issue at all. And now it's just getting the reps and being trained and being developed as a well-rounded wide receiver, which I know that's going to be the goal of the Raiders. But right off the bat, you can't teach 6'5" and 4'3" in the 40. You just can't. And so that's going to be an asset that the Raiders can tap into immediately in certain roles, and certain looks and certain personnel groupings that he's going to get on the field, I think, pretty early. And then as time goes on, developing him into a more well-rounded wide receiver and make him even more of a weapon. So, yeah, I like the pick of Dante Thornton. A lot of people nationally really love that pick.
Vinny Adam asked in my YouTube chat, asked Vinny if he thinks the Raiders are going to get another wide receiver, linebacker, or cornerback. I mean, most insiders, and if you look at power rankings, and some of that comes and goes, but thinks the Raiders need to improve on the back end at cornerback, and especially maybe get another linebacker. How do you see it?
Yeah, just my thoughts on it. I would think less at wide receiver. I mean, look, you draft guys to play guys, and if you bring in, I know Amari Cooper seems to be a big name among Raider fans. But I guess my question would be, why would you want to bring in Amari Cooper when all he's really going to do is stall the development of a Jack Besh? Don't you want to get Jack Besh on the field? And when you look at a profile of a Jack Besh, a big physical wide receiver who is not afraid to get after it in the blocking game, I don't know enough about Amari Cooper to know that if that's part of his game right now. But it feels like maybe not, and maybe he's going to want to be more of a number one wide receiver. I don't know that wide receiver is a big need right now for the Raiders, especially after the draft. Maybe had they not checked off some back boxes in the draft, that would make a little bit more sense. So a little bit less on wide receiver. I think the Raiders are set with their 2 starting linebackers, and Landon Roberts and Devin White. And We'll see behind them who's going to be able to emerge as viable depth. There's a lot of faces. There's a lot of names. Not a whole lot of experience, but but there are players that the Raiders have either drafted or brought in over the last couple of years that I'm sure they're excited about seeing what steps that they've taken. And this is the time of year where you assess your second and third year guys. Where are they, in the development process? And so if a decision is going to be made at linebacker, I would imagine that it's going to be after they take a look at rookie minicamp and then OTAs and decide what they really have at both of those positions, at that position. Cornerback, I could definitely see the Raiders doing something at cornerback, especially at the nickelback slot cornerback position. Right now, Darnay Holmes would be penciled in as the starter. Are you comfortable with that? Do you feel like maybe you need to go out and get a veteran at that position? Mike Hilton, Cincinnati Bengals veteran, is still out there, coming off a really good year. Is he somebody that the Raiders might need to turn to? But again, these next few weeks, this next month or so, I think will tell a lot about how the Raiders view what the roster looks like. They're always going to be of the mind of trying to get better, but I think specifically they're going to look at certain positions over this next month to really decide what they need to beef up heading to training camp.
All right, Vinny, can you get our listeners on the way out up to speed on the calendar? What should we look forward to? You and I are in the building when we see rookie OTAs coming up and mini camps. And what's the calendar look like before we get into summertime radio?
Yeah, we're basically getting right into it right now. Obviously rookie minicamp is going to be this weekend. And so we'll have a lot of reports and a lot of eyeballs on that over the weekend. And then we start talking about May 19th, I believe it is when the first week of OTAs. And the difference between OTAs and what they're doing right now is in OTAs, you can start practicing offense against defense, 11 on 11, 9 on 7, 7 on 7. So you get practical work against the defense. Right now, it's offense can work on one side of the field, the defense can work on the other side of the field. So over the next about 4 weeks after May 19th, the Raiders are going to get a pretty good look at players competing against defensive players, offense against defense, and then of course that wraps up in early June with the mandatory mini camp, and then it's really away we go to training camp. I would say that there's an owners meeting in the middle of May. Who knows? We might get some news on where Las Vegas stands in terms of the Super Bowl. I don't expect the NFL to make a decision yet on that, but we may find out that Las Vegas is pretty front and center for the next wave of Super Bowls to be announced. So it never sleeps. It never ends. I think we're going to get some valuable information over this next month or so on where the roster is. And I'm curious and excited to see Geno Smith out there throwing it to all these new weapons that are on the field. This offense, to me, JT, looks night and day, personnel-wise, from where it was to end last season and at any point through last season. When you started talking about Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty and Jack Besh and Jacoby Myers, don't forget about Michael Mayer, Trey Tucker, who's coming off a pretty good season, and Dante Thornton. This thing looks a whole lot different. And you have to add Chip Kelly to that mix. It's different coaching, different scheme, better coaching, I would say, along with Pete Carroll. So the whole thing looks a lot different than what it was at the end of last season. And I'm curious to see what that actually looks like. Let's thank your proud partners for your appearance today. Yeah, absolutely. Loca Loca Tequila. It's now here in Las Vegas in a major way. You can go to Lee's Liquor to buy all the great tequila brands that they put out, and also lendingstore.com. If you're in a pinch and you need $500 or $5,000 in your bank account as early as tomorrow, go to lendingstore.com. Have their experts help you find a lender that could get you that money in your bank account as early as tomorrow. Thank you, Vinny. Talk to you soon. Appreciate you. All right, JT, thank you. Have a great show. You got it. You got it. Vinny Bonsignore. Great to have him on Wednesdays. We appreciate that. And good information there. Really good information there as we get going. And I'm going to dive into this topic, and I want to hear from Raider fans the rest of the show. I think I have a pretty important topic on, these power rankings that bother me, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't bother me because you got to play the game. But it bothers Raider fans because they get mad at me. And that's what bothers me. I just send out content. Most of it's mine. Most of the content you hear from me is mine. We have other people on because, I can't talk for 2 hours underwater here. I want to hear from you.
But you put out anything with the Raiders, and there's still Raider fans who are really negative even after a pretty good offseason. I put out these power rankings that have the Raiders 28th after the draft in the league. I got Raider fans going, yeah, we're still a 4-win team. Well, I know that. We're going to play new games this year. I actually have Raider fans telling me that they're going to be games starting in September. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know when the games are going to be played this year. Well, we haven't played any games yet, JT. Well, then unfollow me and don't read the content. I'm aware that we have games in September. I'm very aware of that. I'm putting out content here to try to get you involved with the broadcast. Not all of it's going to be high energy content. Most of it isn't low-hanging fruit. But again, I'm pretty excited. Vinny's really excited. He mentioned Chip Kelly, all these assets that we have as we open up the show. 702-365-9200. I asked for the Vegas Golden Knights and Mark in Vegas on 920. Start us off, Mark.
Yeah, I want to say last night at the Knights game, it started off so powerful. But I don't know what happened to the Knights in the second and third period. Being outshot 12-1 and then showing up in the third period, it was like they were roller skating, not ice skating. I still can't figure it out. Their defense, it just fell off the chart, and I'm so used to the Knights playing. I sit right behind the Knights goalie, 5 rows up. I love the Knights. I love the way they play defense. But what a depressing way to end the game. It just took the life out of me. I hope they go home last night, took a look in the mirror, showed up today to their warm-ups, and they come back out firing like they should tomorrow.
How was the crowd?
The crowd went silent. It was deafening. I was standing up and yelling. I was shocked at how, I don't like the term fair weather fans, but that's what it felt like. And watching the arena empty the last 2 minutes of the game, shocking. Stay there and sit there in your seats and enjoy the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, people like to run to the exits. Thanks for the call. People want to get to the Uber line, or they want to get to the parking lot, or they want to race out. And again, I'm not the seat police. I'm not in charge of being a cop at Allegiant Stadium and who sits in seats. But I got some negative reviews from the fans yesterday. I got buddies who are really embedded season ticket holders, and they were shocked at how lame the crowd was. Not everybody, great fans there, of course. I'm broadcasting, not narrowcasting, but it wasn't the strongest showing by the fans last night at the Fortress. Thor, out in Summerlin, Raider Nation Drinking Club as we came off the cruise. Hello, Thor.
What's happening, my brother JT? Man, I ain't talked to you for a minute on here. I'm calling in because I'm happy. I'm very happy about a Warrior win. I'm a little bit concerned about Steph having to miss about a week now, but we played without Steph for the last 3 quarters of that game and played right with them. Actually, I outscored them without Steph. So I'm ready to go. I'm ready for next week, JT. Next week, next Wednesday, the schedule drops.
Yes.
Raider Nation, get ready. When the schedule drops, I know we will be in Houston. I know I personally will be in New England. There's a couple other places we may or may not be, but when the schedule drops, get on it. Start finding a hotels you can book, and if you find something better, cheaper or better or whatever, you can cancel it. Make sure you have that set up, ready to go. Get your flights ready. Get all of it. Get out there. Raider Nation, show up, show out, on the road, at home, all over the place, because the Raiders, we're going to be better than people think this year, JT. I'm excited for this team. I don't care. I heard you talking about the power. I don't care what they say we are. I know this team is close, and we had a really good draft, and they can say whatever they want until they get out on the field. Then you can judge them. So let these dudes get out there with Gino, and we have offensive firepower now. I'm excited. The D is going to be solid. Let's get some wins and show up. I know you were talking about the crowd at the Golden Knight game. We need the crowd anywhere, any home. If you're going to a game, be loud, be proud. Let's go, no matter what. Let's stand up, Raider Nation. Get fired up, man. JT.
Thank you, Thor. I could tell you're fired up. And I'm happy you brought up the schedule release. That's where I always send people to the black hole. And the black hole takes care of all of this. Schedule release comes out, you go to the black hole. They have deals, but you got to be a member. You're a member for life. Once a member, always a member. Go to thebblackhole.com. Now, I'm off Monday and Tuesday. My son's graduating from college. I've been talking about that a lot. It's a big, big, big family event for my family. My mom and dad are coming into town. So I'm going to be back on schedule release day, and that's a big day for me. Wife wants to go to New England. My wife's never been to Boston. She's been all over the globe. She back through Europe after college. She's never been to Boston. I'm like, that could be a good trip. Because the Patriots aren't a juggernaut. Man, last time we went to New England, what a story that was. Not for radio, for a podcast. After the Raiders lost to New England, we flew to London. Oof, that was a trip. For those who know, Oh, there was a lot going on that trip. That was a long time ago, but that was one hell of a trip. Monologue brought to you by PTs. Do me a favor, everybody. Everybody get into a PTs and go to a PTs for Thursday night if you don't have a ticket. PTs is a proud partner of the Vegas Golden Knights. All their servers, bartenders, fans go there because they do a lot. They're a proud partner of the Vegas Golden Knights, and they're our partner here on the flagship Raider Nation Radio. So we want everybody to go to a PTs, a Sean Patrick, Sierra Gold, to any of the taverns here in the family of Golden Entertainment and support the Golden Knights. I got a lot to say on the Golden Knights today, so apologize if you're not into it, but I live in a hockey town that's in the playoffs, and it's May, and we got to win, because if not, I'm going to lose my mind, because we're not going to play in the Western Conference Finals or the Stanley Cup, and that would be unacceptable to me. So let's get this thing going if you're a hockey fan, and I know there's a lot of football fans who are hockey fans. 702-365-9200. I have open phone lines. I should never have one. That's not on me. So let's get going here. When we come back, what upsets me about the latest Raider power rankings, and evidently it upsets you too. All right. Let's get some water. I think I brought some water in my bag. Hold on. How beautiful is this water bottle, man? Is that a great water bottle or what? I got this from the Bolitnikov. The Bolitnikovs gave me that. How gorgeous is that?
Raider Nation, what's your name?
And a couple of people asked me about Josh Jacobs and the podcast on Bussin' with the Boys. I listened to it.
Good.
Josh had a lot to say. Not all of it was good about leaving the Raiders.
Hold on a second. Raider Nation, what's your name? Bird, where you calling from? Where you calling from?
Black smoke at the conclave. We have not come up with a pope. We do not have a pope. We have black smoke at the conclave. Huh?
I'm waiting for orange smoke. Where did you say you were calling from? Hold on. Okay, Raider Nation, what's your name, man? Hello.
Where the hell are these people on hold? They can't stay on hold for 30 seconds? Apparently not. Jesus Christ, man. How hard is it to stay on hold for 30 seconds? All right. Yeah. Jeez. I'm having a better day. It started off pretty shitty today because I just got technology and emails, and you're in trouble. Get in and figure out your training on 2 different jobs out of my 3 different jobs. I'm lucky to have 3 jobs. Very lucky. I'm not going to have 3 jobs forever. One's going to go, the other might go, but that's why you work. That's why I work so hard and I work so many. And I wish I would get up. I tried to do a podcast with Looney. Something technically didn't work. So I had a very difficult technical morning. And again, I just want to wake up and press a button and for everything to be perfect. Bobby, just wake up in the morning. I press a computer button. My Streamlab's good. My microphones are good. The lighting's good. But there always seems to be an issue. And
Well, if it's easy, you could have anybody.
it's always a pain in the ass. That's why I need my son. I need my wife. I need technology to be helpful for me. So my day started off that way, but now it's much better. It's a much better day today. A much better day.
Hi, I'm Taylor, the real estate guy. At 15 years old, I was homeless with no guidance or education. I was sleeping in my car.
Bob Seger's 80th birthday today. Bob Seger music. Bob, was it today or yesterday? Well, I just got a text from Chris in West Oakland that says it's today. So let's double check on that. Shouldn't be hard. Bob Seger birthday. Bob Seger's birthday was yesterday, May 6th. You were right. So little Bob Seger today. Yes.
So we got Pete Carroll coming back.
Safety and most of all hope. Together, we can change the lives of the
We'll
children.
call Herb in Atlanta.
Herb in Atlanta.
Be the difference in a child's life today.
Yep, I'm ready.
It's working a raising case. That's for sure.
Yeah, let's work in a Raisin Canes.
God knows they got enough of that one.
Raisin Canes chicken fingers, one love.
Back in 30.
Plumbers, HVAC techs, contractors, and DIYers. McFadden Industrial Hardware has the tools, parts, and supplies to power your next project. Literally in stock with everything you need. Stop by South Decatur near Russell. McFadden Industrial Hardware. Fast, easy, and built for the pros.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by Tito's Handmade Vodka, America's original craft vodka. Visit Tito'sVodka.com.
Yeah, these guys are great competitors. That's what's really what we went in to find, and I think the whole process that we started with our scouts, and even though we picked them up midstream, we emphasized that from the beginning that we want guys that really want to battle and to the man. That's what we were able to find. We're going to stick to that as best we can because we know that that's the makeup of the club that we want, and we got to do it one guy at a time, and so that's what we're shooting for.
I love the Pete Carroll sound bites because he's talking about developing his football team. He's the head coach, not Antonio Pierce's team. He took some of the players that were good, including Max Crosby. And, you look at Jackson Powers Johnson and a lot of other players there and developing them further. And then they had a draft with 11 players, a lot of unique players, some quarterbacks on the back end that can kind of morph into wide receiver. So there's a lot going on with this team. There's a lot of new, unique things happening with the Raiders. And that's really what we're talking about, unless there's breaking news. We don't want any injuries. We don't want anybody getting in trouble. We don't want anything crazy to happen. We're in the offseason here, man. We're in the offseason. That's why I got the NBA playoffs and the hockey playoffs and baseball games, because we're in the offseason. So when we're trying to provide you content here, my content is sports, not Raiders, when there's not a lot of Raider news. I'm not going to kill 15 minutes talking about a backup safety. That isn't a good radio show. It's a good Raider blog. It's a fun little blog, but it's not a radio show. So we're going to try to give you the best of what the best is. And that leads me to the frustration I got the other day because I tweeted out a power ranking. So I was up in the morning prepping, and I looked at a power ranking that came out for the Raiders, and it had them after the draft at 28th. And I said, oh, my God, I got to click this on. What's going on here? How could they have the Raiders at 28? They have Brock Bowers. They have Max Crosby. And I dove into it, and they were right about it. They went down some of the things that the Raiders need to do better, how the Raiders might need to add a linebacker or a cornerback. They mentioned some of the good players that are gone, and that was kind of the strength of everything that's happening. So Opta Analyst, OPTA, Las Vegas Raiders, 29th out of 32. Geno Smith figures to be a considerable upgrade for Las Vegas under center. The former Seahawk starter had more throws under pressure, 138, than any other quarterback last year, but had the 12th fewest pickable passes among the 33 quarterbacks with 50 so-called attempts. And don't forget about the first-round picks, Ashton Jeanty, the Heisman runner-up, was first in college football in rushing yards, yards after contact, and broken tackles, and significantly carried his Boise State team to the college football playoff. And that was it. I said to myself, why are they ranked 29th? So I put that out there. Oh, boy. 51,000 views. You want to read a little bit, Bobby? 148 responses. Okay? So here's some of them. Luke Easterling, who was a really good guest for us. We had him on. He said, not to mention an experienced head coach with the track record. He was very positive. My son trolled me. My son. He said, Brick, don't get your blood pressure going at 7 a.m. in May, man. Here's Jerry, who says, JT, there's entirely too much attention for a team that will no doubt unequivocally finish last in the AFC West. Be happy you now have an actual coach to dig out of the hole. Carlos says, JT, he's a Raider fan. Our defense sucks. We get 6 to 7 wins at best. Okay? A Cigar and Bourbon Bars tweeted me, they won't boost them up the power rankings until they actually show improvement on the field. I got a lot of that Captain Obvious stuff. Raider, Dodger, Laker fan. These power rankings mean nothing. Let's wait until they have a few games under their belt. I respond. I provide content every day. I can't wait. And I'm getting a lot of people who are Raider fans and are still not believers. Wow. Well, what can I do to help? I mean, last year I put my neck out on the line. I did the same thing. What did I do last year? I went nuts on Denver and the Chargers. How'd that do me? I just got hammered all year long when we lost 10 in a row. Gotham Avenger says, JT, have to win consistently if we want to change casual opinions. Don't get so tied into power rankings. The current structure of this team has improved over last year. I agree with that. Andrew G., a Raider fan, says, LOL, this team was down 2 scores almost every week in a league where 1-score games are the norm. This team has a very long way to go. And one more by Paper Chase. He says, I think the Raiders need to remain down at the bottom now since we've made so many changes that it's way too difficult to predict how successful or unsuccessful we'll be. New head coach, GM, quarterback, etc. It's a lot to assume this will work year 1, maybe year 2. Okay. Anybody want to wait 2 more years? I don't. Year 28 for me, I want to win now. I want to win now. Big. But I can't go Super Bowl after losing 10 in a row with some of these players. So what am I going to do before the start of the year when I make my predictions? Am I going to predict they make the playoffs on the flagship station, the guy who interviews the coach normally? I think I kind of got to go there. I think Pete Carroll, I don't want to sit in front of Pete if I get that opportunity and say, I'm the guy who didn't pick you to make the playoffs. So I'll probably be there because I really believe the roster development's going to be really good. But where do you stand out there in power rankings after the draft? You're reading the same thing I'm reading. I mean, I look at it. If a lot of insiders think the Raiders have to prove it on the field, I get it, but we don't play until September. I believe the teams improve, but what seems to be, what's the right word? The doubt that the Raiders are getting seems to be because of linebacker and cornerback. Is that fair? I mean, we don't have a bunch of Pro Bowlers in the secondary. We don't. Got a bunch of guys that we believe are longer, stronger, kind of the Pete Carroll Legion of Boom guys, Jeremy Chin, whatever, and you can pick holes in them because they're no longer on the team that once had them. But I believe that Spytek and Carroll found these guys with Patrick Graham for a reason, and they're going to fit in really good with this team. It's going to be a different style of practice, nutrition, training, sleep, days off, days on, harder practices, lesser. This program is completely different, and there's a lot more knowledgeable people, I believe. Not saying they're not good people or bad people, the old ones, but you got a bunch of guys. You got Howie Roseman's one of his lieutenants, and John Spytek, who was Jason Light's lieutenant and won a Super Bowl.
And Tom Brady.
And Tom Brady. And Tom Brady. So I think there's a lot to be excited about here. Herb is in Atlanta on the Raiders mobile app. What's happening?
JT,
JT, hey man, love the show. Appreciate you. Listen to you every day.
Thank you very much.
Listen, man. Listen, I think you're on. You're spot on. People are doubting us. But the thing is, Chip Kelly is the wild card. Chip Kelly is going to bring something that we have not seen in silver and black since Hugh Jackson, maybe. I think the defense with PG coming back is stellar. Those guys, if they stay healthy, we're going to be a problem. And the problem is showing it on the field, bringing it to the grass, and bringing that Raider fire from the old school days that people don't get because they haven't seen it. But I got a feeling with this staff, PG, Chip Kelly, and Pete Carroll, I think the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. Appreciate it, Herb. Thank you.
One last thing,
Yeah.
One last thing, man. I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan.
Oh,
I've been a Raider fan since 67.
Wow.
I know. I've been a Raider fan since 67 when Blanda came from Houston. Because my boy was a pass kick competition, punt, pass, and kick competition. He was a Blanda fan, so I followed him with Blanda to Oakland. But Edmonton Oilers is my team, buddy. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, Edmonton's a really good team. I think Vegas is better than Edmonton. They proved that this year with the record. I think they got better lines, but Edmonton played better in that game, and Edmonton wanted it more. And God, no, when this team, when the Golden Knights disappear, Bobby, when guys like Carlson or Riley Smith or whatever disappear, these guys are ghosts, man. When these guys disappear, they disappear. Okay, Draisaitl and Connor McDavid don't disappear. We need Eichel to have a game where Eichel dominates. Where's the Eichel dominate game? Where's the hat trick for Eichel? We needed Stone to get us going. Come on, man. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm wearing these Astrum headsets. They are the best I've ever had. A matter of fact, when I walk in the park outside my house and I put the earbuds in, I get nervous because I can't hear a car. I can't hear a dog. I can't hear anything. Noise cancellation is changing my life. So I changed to these headsets, Astrum. They're the best technology. It's one of a kind. And I'm offering these out to you, our audience here, because you got to get them. So if you're into music, beats, you love sports, you love podcasts, you got to give this a try. And they got a deal for us. Go to astrumtech.com. Use the promo code JT. You get 20% off. That's ASTRUM tech.com. You'll get 20% off the headphones that I have, and they are sleek and they're good. And my buddy Jamie gave me a playlist of music that he made for me because he knows I like a certain style of music. And I put these in my ears, man, and life is changing dramatically. Backyard Brick has never been this good. AstrumTech.com. JT is the code to save 20%. Levi Edwards spent a day with Ashton Jeanty. He's got some good content coming up here. I'm hearing from Oiler fans, Bobby, but not from Golden Knight fans. Should I do the show from Atlanta or Edmonton? Let's get a Golden Knight fan in here. Maybe I'll give away a $50 Grimaldi gift card. Sounds like a threat, but it's not. It's great pizza. The best I've ever had. What do you say? I got to fill my water bottle, which I hope you're okay with.
You're giving me number 2. Hang on, okay?
Don't miss Unnecessary Roughness weekdays at 2 on Raider Nation Radio, 920 AM.
Boyd Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black. There are 10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly.
This is Raider Nation Radio, 920 AM, the home of Raider Nation.
When you are injured, knowing that someone has your back changes everything. Our family has spent over 3 decades fighting and pursuing justice for the injured. It's a long family heritage that we proudly carry on. From my father, to our family, to the expert legal team at the Castorworthy, we founded this firm for you. We're the Castorworthy Brothers, and we have your back.
Brotherswin.com.
Patty Davidson here from BetMoneyHoney.com. Would you like to become an educated sports fan that also knows how to place a bet? How about a library of how games are played, how to make bets, and hot picks of the day? Join me at BetMoneyHoney.com.
Hey, it's JT. Grimaldi's is hands down my favorite pizza in Vegas. Only at Grimaldi's can you get their famous New York style coal-fired brick oven pizza. Grimaldi's has 4 locations in the Vegas Valley, or check it out online at Grimaldi'sPizzeria.com.
It's almost Mother's Day, and you can now get anything you need delivered with Uber Eats. Well, almost anything. So no, you can't order a relaxing shower, but some beautiful flowers, you bet we deliver those. A bird bath? No. A bath bomb? Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm kind of worked up on this Golden Knight loss. I'm kind of pissed off about the Golden Knights losing because it affects my social life, which I don't like negativity in my social life, right, Bobby? And your work life. Over 500 cigar labels to choose from. They feature one of the largest whiskey, scotch, and bourbon selections anywhere in the valley with live local. Looks like a wine bottle. Great place to watch football games. Check it out at LaCasaCigars.com.
Welcome to Yoga for Beginners, where we say yes to less stress and no to auto loan payments. Say yes to less stress with one Nevada credit union.
Let's play Halliburton coming back.
Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Let's play Halliburton coming back.
Yeah, get that Astrum Live read to Andrew. Thank you.
You get these two for the ball.
You got the Bob Seger or no?
No, but I can.
Well, that's why I mentioned it. The Cowboys acquired George Pickens from the Steelers. Wow, that's a big trade. Yeah, I'd like to have a water bottle like that too, man. Take a picture of that.
No appointment necessary. 24-hour service. Zip Zap Auto.
Get a better one than that. Come on, Kenny. Let's get a better picture than that. Right? There you go. The Raider water bottle. Right here. All right.
Indiana game winner.
Okay.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by Modelo Especial, the new #1 beer in the U.S.
4 seconds to go. Halliburton for 3. 3 ball up top. Indiana by 1. 1 and 1/10 seconds to go. Inbound. Merrill didn't get it off. And this rivals the Milwaukee finish.
You have got to be kidding me.
What a win. What a win by Indiana over Cleveland. I was on the air live last night on Sirius XM when that went down, and I have put Cleveland in the coffin. Now we are lowering the coffin into the ground. They're done. They're finished. Done. 30 years ago today, Reggie Miller scored 8 points in 9 seconds. 30 years ago today. I remember exactly where I was in a bar in San Diego with my Knick fan buddies. It's called the Daily Planet, and I was there for that, and I could never forget that moment. It burned me. It stayed with me. Remember Spike Lee yelling at Reggie Miller and Reggie Miller making the choke sign 30 years ago. Also, yesterday was Bob Seger's 80th birthday. Wow. I've seen Bob Seger a few times. Saw him at the MGM Grand here in Vegas. It was a brilliant show. He's friends with my buddy Benny Jett in Detroit. Happy birthday to Bob Seger at 80. So my guy Mick Jagger's in his 80s, Bobby. Billy Joel, I think, is in his late 70s, I think. I mean, wow. I just saw Angus Young. Can you Google Angus Young's birthday, please? Because he played for AC/DC, the guitar player. Saw him at Allegiant Stadium, and he was brilliant. It was one of the best rock guitar shows that I've seen in quite some time. That was amazing to see. So a lot of these rock stars and great performers are really getting up there in age. It's probably the last time to see them. So that's it. Bobby, what do you got for Bob C? Angus Young. How old's Angus here?
Angus was born March 31st, 1955.
Okay. And you could do the math for me on that. 55.
Yep,
Wow.
1955, so he's 70.
He's 70 years old. Okay. Let's get out to Scott in San Carlos. Hello, Scott.
Hey, JT. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Hey, so last time I called you, I lived in San Carlos, California, and I think I was calling you on 1050.
Wow.
So might have been KBR.
Yeah,
Or
the Ticket 1050, the old Raider flagship. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, I just wanted to check in real quick about the power rankings. I mean, I think the notion there's 28 teams in the league better than the Raiders post-draft is pretty much garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. I think Spillane was probably the thing that losing him probably hurt us the most in the offseason. So I was bummed out about that. But while I agree linebacker and corner are two of our weaker positions, I think I'm going to borrow your term and say elite for our defensive line. And I think that people are overlooking how much that can help a secondary that maybe isn't, top notch. So, diehard through and through. I guess I probably am not the most objective person, but I saw some of those rankings too. And I'm like, come on. It just doesn't make sense to me. And, and I agree with the previous caller too, or your comment, I guess you read that, no one's really going to know until we play a few games. But I just think if you do the math, you sit down and go, you're telling me there's 28 teams better than the Raiders. I don't buy it.
Yeah, that's why I bring it up. I just want to bring the content here, and I tweeted it out. But yeah, I think the Raiders are much better than that. I don't have the Raiders in the top 10, but I have the Raiders in the top 20. I think their roster is pretty good. I thought their roster was pretty good last year, and then Christian Wilkins got hurt, and Malcolm Kuntz couldn't play. Raider Dave in Denver. Always great to hear from you, Dave. What's happening?
Hey, I appreciate that, JT. It always is good talking to you. I agree that it's a misnomer that they've slanted the Raiders this far down, but I think everybody who's been a fan since '67, like me, has kind of expected it. They're even at their heyday, I never seem to remember them ever being ranked number one. So I think there's just always a bias and always a hatred, and we just see the way it trickles down like this in the national media that puts these things out. But let's go ahead and look at why did the Raiders not get to the 8.5 games that, a lot of us thought they were going to do over the 6 or 7 that they were predicted by, the odds makers? One, had to be quarterback play, right? Well, that's improved.
Yes.
2, had to be offensive line. For the last 2 seasons, the starting 5 did not play together until game 4. Not in the preseason, not practicing, not in the summer. Now the O-line is healthy. Now they can practice together. So I have to think that without even having some Pro Bowl right tackle that came up on the scene, I believe that they are going to be better. The other thing was the running game wasn't getting anywhere. Well, that's a part of the offensive line. That's part of play calling. That's part of the running back room not being as elite as they should be.
Right.
It hurt when they didn't want to re-sign JJ. So here we go. That's another reason that they didn't get to 9 wins. That's going to be better with Jeanty. Anybody who doesn't think so is just lying to themselves and maybe just ought to just watch baseball all year instead because they don't know football. The other thing I think is the red zone play. Now, if the offensive line and the running game can't help the red zone, darn well a more mobile quarterback would, and somebody who can have such zip on the ball that the new quarterback has, it's got to help. So I really don't understand why they can't be ranked where they were the last couple of years, at least, if not better. It's surprising to me. So I agree with you. It is tough, but I think we'll get through it. And hopefully let's go ahead and surprise some people. I really like what one of the other callers said, and I've been touting on this, about Kelly and what his surprises will be able to do, about the type of players that could be joker or trick players that the defenses are really going to have to prepare for if somebody starts showing up and doing some of these things in the first few games of the season. So I think it's going to be an exciting year to watch them. And if
Yes.
you go out to Vegas at any time, I got to tell Raider Nation this: go to PTs, go to some of the places that sponsor this show.
Thank you, Dave. I'm out of time, but I appreciate you thanking our partners. That means a lot to me. That's why we're here. We don't have a show without our partners, and I try to get them all in as much as I can, because without our proud partners, we don't have a show. Great to hear from the great Raider Dave, who listens in Denver.
Let's get
all right.
So we got Levi at 10 past.
Yeah, Levi at 10 after. We got Levi Edwards at 10 after. So what do you want to talk about in the chat? You got my attention here. What do you want to hit on? Got a granola bar going here.
Modelo is an official cerveza of the Las Vegas Raiders and the JT the Brick Show. Modelo Especial is a rich, full-flavored Pilsner-style lager, delivering a crisp, refreshing taste, brewed with fighting spirit since 1920.
Bobby went to smoke a dart, so he'll be back in a good 5 minutes. That means if the phones ring, no one can pick him up. UFC 315. 315.
Exclusions apply. Offer ends May 25th, 2025. SummitRacing.com. Let's build it together.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks.
All right, we got 50 people in here. Appreciate that. Thank you. Can the Knicks steal game 2? I don't think the Knicks can steal game 2. I don't, but I'm going to be rooting for him. I'm going to be rooting for him, and I hope they can, Big Al. I hope they can. So Steph Curry is going to be out until game 4, so he's out a week. So the series would be over if they didn't win game 1. Warriors would be done without Steph. They might get swept, but I don't think they will, because they got a lot of guys coming off the bench, and Kuminga is going to have a bigger role now. I think the Warriors will be okay. I think the Warriors can win a game without Steph in San Francisco. I almost said Oakland. Yeah, Bobby doesn't smoke weed at work. You know, most people don't. Most people don't smoke cannabis when they're working in a big company. Who in the chat smokes weed at work? If you work at home, that don't count. Is it a fireable offense? Can you get fired from leaving your workplace and smoking something that isn't a cigarette? I don't even know. I know it's legal. It's legal, so if you get pulled over, you're good, but you can't. It's not approved at work, right?
Big news, Las Vegas. Les Olson IT has moved to a bigger, better facility to serve you like never before. Our new space means more technology, more service, and more solutions, all designed with you in mind. Plus, we're hiring. If you're ready to grow with a company that values innovation and community, join our team today.
It's got my invitation to Eric Allen's big Hall of
Hey, Jeff, how's the new job working out?
Really sucks. Terrible boss, and the paycheck is even worse.
There is a blood drive at the LV ballpark I want to mention, Bobby.
Dude, you should check out Truck U CDL training. My brother got his CDL license in 4 weeks, and now he has a new career.
Levi's 10 past, correct?
Yep. Wanted to burn, take a little bit off the bone here, burn about, get him.
You want another secret song coming back next? Huh?
What's that?
You want another Seeger coming back or not?
No, we're good.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by the Black Hole. Become a member of football's most notorious fans.
JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio.
Raiders bring a blitz. He takes it off the middle, and he's wrapped up from behind. Max Crosby.
Your silver and black home to sound off for over 20 years.
Open at the 35, racing to the 20, 10, touchdown Raiders.
And now, here's JT the
All right, JT back with you. Hour number 2 of the show today. Q's coming up. I just saw him in the building at the top of the hour. He'll have a big show for you, as he always does. The Golden Knights lost last night. Am I concerned? Yeah, I'm concerned with how they lost. When you look at Bruce Cassidy, when you look at him, he tends to get a team going once they lose. I like that about him. He will get in the face of this hockey team, and he will call them out. So I like the fact, I think the squad will come back. If they don't, they're in trouble. And it's best of 7 in hockey. Golden Knights got a really good team. They should be able to come back. The breaking news today is Steph Curry is out until at least game 4. So he's going to miss a week with a hamstring strain. Fortunately, the Warriors, as I was telling our chat here at YouTube, JT the Brick on YouTube, JT the Brick YT for free. Subscribe. I was telling, we were talking over the last 5 minutes before we came back, that if the Warriors lost last night, the series would be over. Steph Curry would be out, and they could not win. But the fact that they put a win in the bank, I think, is going to be critical with them going forward and for them to get back in and hold on to the series here. Let's go back to last night where Jimmy Butler had to step up. They call him Playoff Jimmy. He's very good in the postseason, very good in the regular season. He shouldn't be a Warrior. He should have been suspended for the entire year for conduct detrimental to the Miami Heat. You know that. I just said it. But Jimmy Butler is on the Warriors, and he hit some big shots.
Over to Butler, 3 to shoot, pulls up, takes a deep 3, it's up, and he banked it home. The Bank of Minneapolis is open late tonight for all the playoff action, 69-53.
Yeah, that was a big basket. Tim Roy on Warriors radio. Chris Finch, after the game, the head coach of Minnesota, he was in shock because his team started off 0 for 15 from 3. Sound familiar? Remember Boston missed 45 threes? And then Anthony Edwards was 0 for 8 to start off the game. And Edwards got going later in the game, but it was too late.
What is there to talk about? I mean, you're the leader of the team, and you got to come out and set the tone, in all ways that happens. And if your shot's not going, like you still have to carry the energy, So I don't think if I got to talk to guys about having the right energy coming into opening second round game, then we're not on the same page. So.
Oh, that is a good soundbite. He's calling out Anthony Edwards. He didn't have it. I love that. We want more of that. And that leads me, before Levi Edwards joins us in a few minutes, this is one of the issues that I think I'm at the forefront and talking about in sports radio that I don't hear enough people talking about. I love the NBA, and I hate the NBA. Does that make sense? I love it because I grew up with it. It's part of my DNA. I'm a tortured NBA fan because I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm tortured. And I love the NBA playoffs because they compete so hard. The problem is I've watched the NBA go down the toilet recently because of three-pointers. Not Steph Curry. He's not the problem. It's the rest of the league missing. In this series, in this round of the playoffs already, Minnesota went 0 for 15 from 3. And the Boston Celtics, the greatest franchise in NBA history, sorry, Laker fans, they have more championships by a little. They missed 45 threes, and that's the most ever in the playoffs. So how can you enjoy this sport if you're seeing that? I don't know. I muscle through it. When you watch the Raiders lose 10 games in a row, you kind of get through it, but you're pissed off, aren't you? You're really upset. The Raiders lost 10 in a row last year. I showed up, did 3 or 4 shows a week, put on the game face, which I always do, but it was hard. Losing's hard. But watching a team miss 45 threes is just bad television. Yeah. And I don't have 3 hours of my life to put towards something that's that poor. So last night, the Minnesota Timberwolves were 5 of 29 from 3. 5 of 29. And the Warriors shouldn't have won that game. But they did. Steph Curry got hurt. The only reason they won is because the Minnesota Timberwolves missed. When you think about it, they missed 24 threes. 24 they missed. 24 times 3 is? So you may say they make 10 more threes. So out of the 24 they missed, they make 10. That's 30 more points. They ended up with 88. It's hard to watch, man. So you Warrior fans, I think you're in a great spot now because the Warriors are playing inexperienced teams. And that's got to excite the Warriors. Every once in a while, you get a good draw. You get a good matchup. What's a good matchup when you're in the NFL playoffs and you get Houston in the first round, right? You go, oh, my God, Kansas City's got a bye week. And then they play Houston, and you go, oh, boy, Houston's going to get killed. And they normally do. When you're the Warriors, you got to play in the first round Houston, who are a bunch of little babies in diapers. And then they got to play the Wolves, who are a tremendously flawed team. So if you're a Warrior fan right now, man, you got to feel pretty good other than the fact that Steph Curry is going to miss a week of basketball. And that is a thoroughbred athlete. They are shutting him down like a thoroughbred racehorse. He's being shut down for a week because they can't afford to form or damage him. So that's a long time to be off in the playoffs, a week. But Steph is so good, he should be able to bounce back. Man, Levi Edwards is providing a lot of content for me and you at Raiders.com. And he did a story that I wanted to discuss today of Ashton Jeanty's first day in the building. And Levi, let's begin because you and I were there when he came into the building that day. And we were there when Tom Brady did. And obviously new head coach when Pete Carroll was there. The Raiders put on a show when their draft pick arrived on that Friday after the Thursday night. Pick it up from there.
Yeah, and I talked to Ashton, and he was only on 3 hours of sleep, which, the last couple of years when I talked to the first round pick, when they come in and, I like to ask them, like, how you feeling? It's really funny because it's been a very similar answer the last 3 years where there's been Brock or Tyree or Ashton. So you have a lot coming at you. You just had a life-changing moment, and you can't sleep because you're high on adrenaline. You have to get up early to get on a flight. And then you got your family with you, and then you come to the building, and you're supposed to meet everybody, and you were still, you're crashing out. So I just always find it funny, seeing those guys come in, and they're kind of like have like a little bit of a deer in headlights look because they're still, they're so tired, but they're also just so, adrenaline built at that point of just being like, what, I'm here. This is my life now. Like, I'm so excited. So he came in, and it was pandemonium. I don't know another way to describe it. It was just funny because it was supposed to be really low key, and it was really just supposed to be, the coaches and the GM there. And then literally as people kind of start figuring out, oh, he's coming now, he's about to come. And then, staff members started kind of like leaving their desk and coming in and looking from the balcony. And then alumni came and they started looking from the balcony. And then, coincidentally on the same day, you have 3 guys who are, 2 who are Hall of Famers, 1 who is a 2-time Super Bowl champion. They're looking on. So it's just a lot of things going on. So I know Ashton felt like, $1 million when he walked into that building to see all those people there waiting for him because, he's an investment the Raiders made and they're excited about it.
Levi Edwards is our guest. You mentioned Fred Biletnikoff was there at Jim Plunkett and Marcus Allen, and I was there, and I think you were right by me when Marcus Allen yelled to him, "Hey, Deuce," his nickname, and Marcus all of a sudden is talking to him, and then Marcus and him take a walk. The photographers follow him onto the practice field, and he gets a chance to meet Fred Biletnikoff, Super Bowl 11 MVP. This year will be Super Bowl 60 to do the math, and I think Ashton got it. And then on top of it, his family's there. So I love the way that Mark Davis puts that all together where the family comes in on a day where those Raider legends were there. I think it made a difference with the demeanor of Ashton Jeanty to have Marcus Allen, someone he knew already, he's familiar with, to be there and help him guide him through that first day.
Yeah, no, it's amazing because not only are you going to a team that, for the time being right now, yeah, you're the rookie running back and you're being brought in and they have value in you right now. But this is historically a franchise that has always had a priority in the running back position. They've always wanted to have, that top guy, that workhorse guy. And you can go as far back as, I think about guys like Clem Daniels, Kenny King, Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson, even Darren McFadden, Josh Jacobs, kind of a modern day heir. You have a lot of great running backs that have come through this organization. And so, that's a priority, not just in terms of what Pete Carroll wants to do, Chip Kelly wants to do, but it's the Raiders' reputation. So when you have a guy like Marcus Allen in there to kind of not necessarily like give down the reins, but just kind of be like, hey, young buck, you're here. We care about you. We want to run the rock, and we have I personally feel like you have a good opportunity to leave a similar legacy. And that's what Marcus Allen told me is, this guy, he said, quote, he is generational talent. Marcus Allen truly believes that. And you are a guy, you are a Super Bowl MVP, you're a Hall of Famer, and you have this kind of relationship with him and you're kind of trying to ease him in. Have a guy like that in your corner is going to be huge. Another fun thing, while I was waiting to talk to Marcus Allen just to kind of get his thoughts down there, I know we were all down there. I actually got to meet Lil Brick, and we had a really good conversation.
Good. Yeah, my son happened to be in there that day with Marcus, and he was blown away from knowing Ashton from back in the day and to see that. So it was a special day. What's the biggest, some other takeaway points from your column on Ashton Jeanty's first day at Raiders.com that you think our audience would like?
Just he has a quiet confidence about him, which is what I love. Because obviously you're in the NFL, you have to have like a little bit of, you got to have a little bit of that dog in you, a little bit of that, I'm that guy. Nobody can stop me. You have to have a very high level of confidence, but it's not like a showy, arrogance or anything like that, even remotely even close to that. It's like a nice, quiet confidence, just I'm here to do my job. I want to make this team better. I want to be respectful, but I'm here to ball. And you can just tell, he has a lot of, faith in his abilities. And he's very confident in his abilities, but he's still a very, humble guy as well. And he's extremely excited for the opportunity that's going to come. His family was there with him, and I got to speak with his family, and you can go back into the story and kind of read their recount of what happened on draft night. And I think that's kind of really cool because they were in the draft. They were in the draft room with him in the green room, and they were really excited to be there, and they were there kind of comforting Ashton. Ashton was a little bit more low-key in terms of not trying to be too anxious. So their nerves were all shot for their son, and I think that's really cool just for them to give their account of kind of how it's like, because it's not just a life-changing moment for Ashton, it's for his family too, for the people that supported him along the way that helped him get to that point. So it was really awesome talking to them too.
Levi Edwards, as we wrap it up, all his content is at Raiders.com. Lastly, we talked to Vinny about rookie mini camp. I think this is really important. They hit a home run most of the way across every board from around the league with the rookies that they brought in. They got some hybrid players now, a quarterback who can be a Julian Edelman slot receiver. They got a defensive tackle that can run in short yardage. I mean, they got quarterbacks who are rookies to be at rookie minicamp. I think this is one of the better rookie minicamps that I've looked into in quite some time, because several of these players have to start. They have to be on the field when the season starts, and they got to hit the ground running. You only have so many practices, only so many times to get on the field. I think this is very important for these guys to adapt quickly on whatever role Chip Kelly and Patrick Graham think they're going to need at the coordinator position.
I 100% agree with you, JT. And what I love about this rookie minicamp is obviously you have your high drafted pick, your Ashton Jeanty's and your Jack Beshes of the world. But there's so much talent that's going to be on the field for rookie minicamp, and there's so many guys that are going to be fighting for certain roles. It really does feel like going into this rookie minicamp is going to be a free-for-all. It's not going to be like, okay, well, you're just here because you have to be here. We're trying to fill bodies, and, this is your little, minicamp tryout to see what you can do. It's not that kind of situation. I really do feel some UDFA from some school that we've never heard. Or, even some of these FCS guys like Charles Grant and, Tommy and Cam Miller from North Dakota State, all these guys, they're all going to be competing. And it starts with this mini camp. They're all here for a purpose, and they all feel like they can earn a spot. And I believe Pete Carroll is going to put them all in a position to say, hey, if you have the talent, the ability, the know-how, you will have a chance to earn a role here on this team. And so, rookie mini camp's the first start for these guys, and I can't wait to see how they handle it.
All right, Levi, we'll go to Raiders.com. I'm sure everybody's seeing the great work you do, and I'll see you in the building sometime next week.
Thank you. I appreciate it, JT.
You got it. Levi Edwards, one of our insiders. Paul Gutierrez now at Raiders.com. How fortunate are we for that, to have him there? And a lot of good content there. And we appreciate everybody listening. And the Ashton Jeanty Day, which I was a small part of because we got him first. He had the press conference, and we were waiting. And we were live on the Raiders draft day coverage. That was day 2, where the Raiders were going into their Friday coverage, where we were out at the pool. Remember, what a week that was. The opening round, which was crazy, we were out at the Palms Chaos Pool. Friday, we were in the building. So we're watching Ashton Jeanty. I didn't share this story. Ashton Jeanty comes out. I'm backstage. I get in my ear right before that, and I'm with Geno Smith. Hey, man, you got to go on stage after the pick. So I go on stage. I do that. I act like a dog, like a fun dog, a dog who can do tricks. I get up there, and I just go crazy. And places going crazy, and I'm like, hey, hold on. We'll be back with the pick. Well, then getting to know the pick before I went on stage, whew, that was a memory I'll bring with me the rest of my Raider life. To go out on stage with the microphone with Eric Allen, with Ashton Jeanty as the pick. And I looked up at the Palms, and on the side of the wall of the Palms, on their LED lights, they had Ashton Jeanty. It was crazy. I wish I had my phone out to take a picture of the crowd. And then Geno was excited. AJ Cole was the MC. He did a great job. And then Friday, they brought Ashton in, and he came into the building with his family. And that was a memorable moment with Marcus Allen, Bolitnikoff, and Jim Plunkett. I will say this, another thing I wanted to mention about Jim Plunkett. We spent some time with Jim and Jerry, his wife, over at the Fred Bolitnikoff Hall of Fame Golf Classic. And Jim Harbaugh went viral last week because he said he had a dream. He really said this. It's all over Twitter. Just put Jim Harbaugh in. He had a dream that he's going to take Justin Herbert to the Hall of Fame. And I got so upset. Why would I get upset? Because Jim Plunkett's not in the Hall of Fame. And you know that Justin Herbert's 0-2 lifetime in the postseason. Derek Carr never won a playoff game. Went to the playoffs, but never won. Got injured the first time he went in 2016, but Jim Harbaugh started his career with the Raiders as a coach. He was on the Raiders staff. And I don't think Jim Harbaugh was taking a shot at Jim Plunkett by any means. But it offended me that people were thinking about how to get Justin Herbert to the Hall of Fame and not Jim Plunkett. Now, Jim doesn't have the stats for the Hall of Fame. He doesn't. He doesn't have the touchdowns, but he has the rings. You cannot tell the story of the Hall of Fame without Jim Plunkett. He's the first Latino quarterback ever to win the Super Bowl. That matters. There aren't a lot of Latino quarterbacks. He was the first. Tom Flores got in with what? 2 Super Bowl victories. Jim Plunkett with those 2 Super Bowl victories and a Super Bowl MVP. And I know that being inside the building, it pains a lot of people that Jim Plunkett is not getting the respect he deserves in Canton, Ohio, by the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So if I just blindfolded you and gave you Plunkett's stats, he would not be in the Hall of Fame. Not close. But then if I gave you Joe Namath's stats and Terry Bradshaw's stats, you'd be like, wait, those guys are in the Hall of Fame? They didn't throw for a lot of yards. They threw a lot of interceptions, especially Joe Namath. Joe Namath won 1 Super Bowl. Yep. He was a great player. You should hear Freddie talk about Namath, great player. But Jim Plunkett won 2, and he's not in. And you can't go back in the hot tub time machine and give him more passing attempts because when he played in the league back in the day, it was more running than throwing. But Jim Plunkett won critical playoff games. He was the Rookie of the Year and the Comeback Player of the Year. Those are 2 trophies in his trophy case that are massively important. Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, 2-time Super Bowl champ, and Super Bowl MVP. Those are 5 awards that he has, and he's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now, he won the Heisman, which has nothing to do with the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I wish it did, because you make a good point, Bobby. If you win the Naismith Award for the best college basketball player, that helps you get into the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame. The Basketball Hall of Fame has players from Serbia, women, men, WNBA players. It's a vast group, but the Pro Football Hall of Fame is for your contributions as a pro football player in the NFL. And Jim Plunkett, I think, has enough accomplishments. He doesn't have the stats, but I think the NFL, if they make an exception for him, what are they going to do? No, you can let Jim Plunkett in and keep Trent Dilfer out. Phil Simms won 2 Super Bowls. One, he got injured. Jeff Hostetler took over for him. But Phil Simms got a ring. He had an unbelievable year. He got hurt. Phil Simms got 2 Super Bowls. Is he a Hall of Famer? Phil Simms was a really good player, not a Hall of Famer. Eli Manning, I believe, is a second ballot Hall of Famer. He's got 2 Super Bowl wins, but Eli, unlike Plunkett, has a lot of stats. He's got a lot of touchdowns, and he's got a tremendous amount of passing yards. And I'll give you another guy who I think should be in the Hall of Fame, Phillip Rivers. Rivers is the only human on God's green earth that have beat the Raiders the most. It's one of my favorite trivia questions. No one knows it. If you go into a bar and say, name the NFL player that beat the Raiders more than anybody else, no one can answer that question. Until now, I gave you the answer. It's Phillip Rivers. He's the most wins against our organization. I think he's a Hall of Famer. He's got the yards, the touchdowns. That's what you get into the Hall of Fame. Rivers doesn't have a Super Bowl. He didn't play in the Super Bowl, but I think he's a Hall of Famer. Matt Ryan got a lot of big stats. He played in the Super Bowl, was up 28-3. If Matt Ryan got into the Hall of Fame 5, 6, 7 years from now, I wouldn't go nuts because he has stats. But Drew Brees set the bar for stats now in the video game league. Jim Plunkett didn't play in a video game league. Do you think the Raiders would have won 2 of their 3 Super Bowls without Plunkett? Hell no. One was through a wild card. That's another stat. So I just went off for 10 minutes from the top of my head. No Wikipedia on Jim Plunkett. And I think there's a level of disrespect given to that man that needs to be fixed. And I know we got the right people now in Canton, including Paul Gutierrez. I know we have the right people to help the Jim Plunkett story. So I got about 30 minutes left. And I got a couple other topics I'm going to get to, Golden Knights and the Warriors. But if you'd like to give your reason why Jim Plunkett should be in the Hall of Fame, knowing that he doesn't have the stats, that's the ugly secret that no one really talks about. No one wants to get into Jim's stats. Okay, forget the stats. If you were in the room in Canton, Ohio, presenting Jim Plunkett, how would you explain that he deserves, not an asterisk, but he deserves the ability for his story to be told, and how would you get him in? 702-365-9200. 9200 is the number if you want to get in. La Casa Cigars Lounge at Tivoli Village. The secret's out. New location right next door. Bigger, better views. Incredible. Wait till you see it. Mike's in Greece. When he comes back, he's going to have the grand opening. And they have entertainment 7 nights a week. Stay tuned for their new grand opening where we will broadcast the show live from La Casa Cigars and Lounge at Tivoli.
It's the morning tailgate.
Wow, an hour and 28 minutes of free YouTube. How about that?
You bring up an interesting point.
Yes, I'm going to say goodbye. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you very much. Yes, Michael, just win, baby.
You bring up an interesting point, that segment.